think he knew deeply his own sins and failings, which is part of knowing the true gospel. Not just saying, oh, I'm glad that the church used to believe the gospel. No, in our generation, we need to study the scriptures.
Tabb, should Christians still celebrate the Reformation today?
Absolutely. The Reformation, over 500 years ago, was a reformation in that it was a recovery of the true gospel. And in recovering the true gospel, recovering the nature of the church and its purpose in the world to make disciples of Jesus, to hold fast to his truth. Now, in celebrating the Reformation, we hear about famous figures like Martin Luther and John Calvin. And as we get maybe closer to studying them, realize, wow, those are pretty imperfect examples. It's easy to look at their lives and see flaws. See things that, oh, maybe we'd want to follow this, but not this. And yet, doesn't God use imperfect, flawed people to accomplish his work? Isn't that what he has done since the beginning? Didn't the Apostle Paul say, I am the least of the apostles? Or elsewhere, I am the foremost of sinners. I think Martin Luther might have said, no, I'm the foremost of sinners. I think he knew deeply his own sins and failings, which is part of knowing the true gospel, because he knew that Jesus came to save sinners. And he knew that we were not justified by doing good works, by purchasing indulgences, having the church give us a certificate if we gave them some money, a get out of hell certificate, get out of purgatory certificate. It's like, that's not in the Bible. What is in the Bible is that Jesus Christ saves sinners, and he saves us by faith. It is the grace of God, not just a program of the Pope and cardinals to help support the building of a new cathedral. It is about the gospel of grace. That is the fundamental truth that fueled the Reformation and that fuels the church today. And so, as we study the Reformation, I think there are things to learn from the life of those reformers. But ultimately, I think they would want to say, don't focus too much on us. Focus on Christ. Focus on the scriptures, the Word of God. And I think we have in the Reformation a recovery of the heritage of the church and a recovery of the true teachings of the scriptures. And in studying and considering the Reformation, I think it should encourage us as a church to be always reforming, reformed and always reforming. I see that as one of the passions of the Gospel Growth Fellowship. To be reformed, meaning celebrating the heritage that we have from the Reformation, but also always reforming in our day, not just settling for what Christians rediscovered 500 years ago. Not just saying, oh, I'm glad that the church used to believe the gospel. No, in our generation, we need to study the scriptures alone. We need to proclaim the true gospel, that we are saved not by our works, but by faith alone. We need to stress that it is for the glory of God alone, not to make a name for ourselves, but to magnify His name. And so in that sense, I think that churches throughout the world need to be laying hold of our heritage from the Reformation and also seeking to continually reform as we study the true gospel and the sacred book, so that we might remain faithful to the end.